Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to yet another episode of Little Modular. Today we are back with the fabulous Filter 8 module, but this time, in part 2, we will use it as a CV generator and CV processor instead of an audio processor. The whole idea is very similar to how it operates in the oscillator mode. First, what you need to do is to flick that switch to the low mode, so it operates in the lower register as an LFO. And it works just like an oscillator, so what you need to do first is to put it into self-oscillation just around the 3 or 4 o'clock mark. Then what happens, as you can see right here at all of the 8 outputs, you're getting very clean and nice sine waves, which are 45 degrees apart of each other. As you can see, it just goes nicely from left to right. If you think about it, it's kind of like Erika Synth's octosource. You also get 8 simultaneous outs. Of course, it's only sine waves, but there are some cool tricks that I will show you, allowing to achieve some different wave shapes. You can, of course, decide upon the speed of the LFO with the frequency knob. So as you can see, it could be really, really slow. So let's use this LFO mode in its simplest incarnation. So what I have here is a really simple patch consisting of a twin waves oscillator, which goes to the IntelliJ UVCA, and this one is triggered by Eloquencer, and all of this stuff is synchronized by the same clock. I'm outputting the 24 dB slope output to parameter 1 on clavis, which will give me some nice phasing chorus-like effect, which you will hear in a second. So this is how it sounds without any modulation. Now let's patch. You can clearly hear the LFO. Now I can change the speed of it. I can make it faster. You can of course go to audio rate. Almost. Now, we can also try the hold circuit, which is more prominent in this mode than in the audio mode, because you can just freeze the current value of this output when flicked, like so. You can see the LEDs just frozen. Okay? But it's so much fun when you do it with a trigger signal. In my case, this is a square wave out of Batumi, and I'll just input it into the hold input. And you can see it freezes periodically according to the LFO speed. This could be, of course, a sequencer, some other kind of gate generation, anything that generates gates, really. And I can change the speed. Alright? Now this is all just sine waves, which is cool, but also kind of boring. So we can apply the same techniques that we have used within oscillator mode. So I can just patch it internally, achieving some different shapes. Like I can, let's say, patch this output to the FM in and adjust the exponential FM. Getting some different shapes. Maybe achieving speed. You can see this pulsating fast wave. And of course, using different outputs will give you different results. Different amounts of the FM and different speeds will yield different results. We can also use volt per octave input, which will modulate the speed of the LFO. So we could do it manually, but we can patch some LFO or some other envelopes or anything else. So we can see we're getting yet another level of control. And of course we can combine it with the previous method. So it's just like you would use it in an oscillator mode. Okay. Let's go one step further. We can also modulate the resonance knob in both ways. And we can still use the hold. Now, while we are using all of this stuff together, why not patching audio and see if we can use it simultaneously as a CV and audio processor? So I'm inputting the same audio from the same oscillator and the same modules combination as before, and I'm taking the high pass output. Let me just remind you, we are still in the lower operation mode. We can now switch into the audio rate and see what happens. You get some strange bursts. Something in between audio and CV. Wow, that is cool. Thank you very much. How about using this as a slew processor? What I have done here, I have the same exact sequence as before, but as an input, I have the sequence going from the eloquencer. So it's eloquencer CV out to filter 8 in. Then I have turned the resonance to minimum and the frequency to maximum, fully open. Now watch what will happen. I start the sequence. Now, when I turn down the frequency, we are getting this Portamento gliding effect. And of course, just as in previous examples, we can put all of the modulations tricks in action, including the FM modulation and resonance modulation. Because if we'll make it self-oscillate again, you can achieve all those crazy warbling effects. Let's try to audio modulate the rate knob. All kinds of different modulation events. Another cool trick which is taken out of manual is processing your envelopes so they become more snappy or slewed or processed in different ways. What I have done here is I have outputted my mats envelope to input number 1. Then I take out of LP one output, and that's where my processed envelope comes from. If I play our sequence, observe that the resonance here is at the minimum and the frequency is at its maximum, of course in the low mode again. If we lower the frequency, we will get this slower attack slewing processing again. But an interesting thing happens when you apply some more resonance. Listen to the transients, to the attack. It becomes more clicky as I increase the resonance. you hear it? This could be really useful, especially if you have an instrument that needs to cut through the mix. This could help you a lot. Now, one thing, you might have to attenuate the envelope if it goes above plus 5 volts. So just attenuate it before you go into the filter 8. And of course, all the other tricks that we have mentioned before apply here. So I can again self-patch it to the FM and do some weird stuff with the envelope. Just like with the other signals, LFOs. So as you can clearly see by now, it's a killer module not only for audio processing, but also as a really interesting CV generator and processor. Stay tuned, because in the last installment of this series about Filter 8, I will show you how to achieve even crazier sounds using the feedback patching.